Hello and welcome to episode number 13 of Boutique Talk. My name is Jake Boston, otherwise known as Steelbook Obsessed on all your other major social media platforms. If you want to listen to all things physical media related, then you've come to the right place. Every week I have on a new guest to talk with, and since this is recording a few days before Christmas, I couldn't think of a better person to get my heart in a holly and jolly mood. I've competed once and won on one of his signature trivia nights. Let's give it up for Huck from Huck's Pop Culture Cafe. How's it going, man?
Doing great. Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. We're in a jolly mood. Let's get it.
Absolutely. Nothing gets you in the mood than watching a murder. Huck.
Oh yeah,
Man, I am so happy that you chose this movie. It's one that just came out a couple months ago on Arrow Video, and it's just been sitting there. And I need a reason to watch movies half the time. And when you pick this one, I'm like, yes, I've been wanting to watch this ever since. I've known about it for a long time. It's never been high on my watch list. But now that I actually watched it, I'm so happy that I have.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like you just don't know. Like, even though this is a big Harrison Ford film, there's always gaps in people's viewing. I have it all the time too. I'm like, yeah, like I've never seen this or that. People give it the old, you haven't seen that? And I'm like, I'll get there. So I'm really happy this was one of those gaps for you because it also allowed me to revisit it. I couldn't wait to watch the 4K from Arrow. and sometimes just prepping for a show like this and you get to rewatch a movie like this is awesome. So
that's the main reason why I started this podcast, Huck, is so I can watch some movies in my collection. So I have like an actual reason to. I would have never watched like half the movies that have like guests have brought my way if it wasn't for this.
Nice.
So, yeah,
and you didn't have it in your collection yet too, right?
I did. I did. I got it the month it came out. Yeah.
Oh,
so
nice.
It was one of those things where I was going to watch it eventually, and I just kind of fast forwarded that, and yeah, could not be more thrilled to talk it over with you.
Let's get it. All
Absolutely. Right. Before we start with Witness, though, let's kind of track back a little bit in your collecting journey. How did you start collecting physical media, and why did you decide to do it?
It's funny. Like I've always been a movie fan. I mean, I was that kid that grew up. I just love movies. I was one of the first kids on the block to get a camcorder, and I'd shoot my own stuff. And that got me wanting to come out to Hollywood and make stuff and be in stuff. Like it's always been this itch, right? And because of the love for that, I always like collecting the movies as well. So before VHSs dropped in price, so you could afford. Remember that sweet spot was $20, and it has been that way since the 80s. Like that price point is literally barely changed for decades,
Right.
which is like so funny that's the hot spot. But before that, it was buying blank VHS tapes and then recording things on those. And that was my first bit of collecting because that was a real deal for me, is collecting those movies I want on those VHS tapes and making them perfect. And, sometimes, God forbid, I did the EP speed and put 3 movies on one tape.
The picture quality, Huck. What are you doing?
Back in the day, it didn't matter. It's like I needed more movies on less tape. Yep. And then as I started loving certain movies, that I went to that SP speed. So that's where it all started. And then it got into like I said, those VHS tapes that were at super great prices. And I've been the guy that supported formats. I'm your format friend, right? So if you want to get into laser discs, well, I was one of the guys that got into laser discs, so they would stick around. And then I got into DVDs and the Blu-rays. And I just, I keep bouncing on the formats,
Right. So do you still collect a lot of VHS and Laserdisc, or
are you all I don't. Once I kind of hop, I go right to the next thing. It's funny because I have virtually no VHSs unless they're just stored somewhere because I need to transfer them. But I don't really have that sort of great collection where I can get like a tube TV with the thing built in. I just don't have it. And I have to be careful to not start going down that path just to have them because I'm very limited on space. And like right now, it's all about DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K, stuff like that. So, and Laserdisc, oh my God. I don't know. Did you get those too, Jake? Did you have Laserdisc?
I didn't back in the day, but this year I've started collecting, and it's
been a blast. Oh my God.
It's been a blast. Yeah.
So when we were collecting, like those were always $40 and more. Those rarely had a really good price point. So you really had to want that movie. So you didn't just go out and buy like 5 or 6 or whatever. It was like 1 or 2. And then the box sets were always $100 if you wanted the Star Wars, the Aliens, or Abbott and Costello. I had all these amazing like box sets about that thing. And those were great. And when it came time to sell those, dude, you couldn't give them away. It was like, I gave you $2. $2. That was $100 box set. It was awful. Like you couldn't walk out of the store with one. You would barter him and go, "Can I just get one movie for all these?" And like, "Hey, you still owe us $2." I'm like,
well, Laserdisc has started to have a renaissance, just like VHS did. They're like $15, $20 Laserdiscs now. I have a set, the complete Tex Avery collection, and I love watching like those shorts with my girls. And that one is like $40, $50 right now.
What?
So yeah, if you can collect something, there's going to be a market for it with like eBay and anything you can buy online now. There's a market for this stuff.
Dude, I was at a swap meet, I swear 2-3 months ago, and they had Laserdiscs, and I just, and many were still wrapped. They were in great shape. I just didn't have quite enough money to like barter the lady. I got her to do $35, dude, for like, I don't know, 15 of them. Nice. I only had 28. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should like shave off 5 and just take what I had, but because I wanted all of them, but because I ran out of money, I sort of walked away. I talked myself out of it, dude. I said, look, if you buy this, it's literally just to collect them. I don't have a player, so then they'll never get watched. And so where am I going to put them? I don't have wall space, so they won't be displayed. So I literally had to talk myself out of them, not for the price, because I could have gone to the ATM and got more money. It was literally, why am I actually getting them? Just to have them again, or what? And so the thought of you can't use these, one out.
I 1000% agree on space. Like I originally just wanted to have this wall behind me, and that filled up way too quickly. So then I built a side boutique wall, which is already full. It's kind of migrated to my storage space where I have the laser discs and more. Just I hate the overflow of Blu-rays and stuff. My plan is to go into the room that's behind this wall just to kind of expand that. It's just, I'm going to run out of space at some point, but I love collecting this stuff, and I don't want to stop. But I know at some point I'm going to have to physically force myself to, because there's going to be no space to put everything.
It's kind of an odd concept for yourself, because I'm the same way. Like when I bartered my wife, she was in this room as her office. And I said, look, I need the 4 walls so I can do my collection. And actually I only get 3, because this is a door and a closet. So I really only have 3. And as you can see behind me, it's got a window there. So that's really just what I'm happy about is posters and collectibles, like something I didn't have in the other place. So I really have 2 walls, but it's better than I had.
Correct.
But dude, nice. I mean, this wall thing, like I thought, I can maybe a year grow into this. I've been in here for 4 months and I've almost tapped it out. And I'm like, no,
isn't it terrible? Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't have anywhere else to go out of this room. And that is killing me. So I'm going to have to do something with my channel next year. I mean, all those people that tune in to watch you buy, because if you don't buy, people get thumbs down. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like with this community, I feel like there's major FOMO. Like if you don't get something the week of, and you see everybody else picking it up, like, oh man, I gotta get this, I gotta get that. I gotta be more selective because my space is just running out, and that's why I kind of like doing back catalog titles like this. I mean, Witness is kind of a exception to the rule. It came out a couple months ago, but again, it's still one that I have, and yeah, just space. Space is always going to run out, and it's a terrible feeling. Yeah, man.
Yep, that's how it all started, man.
Right. Well, that's how it started. How did you figure out what a boutique label was? And do you remember the first one that you found out about?
Absolutely. Fantastic question. Honestly, then this is the truth. I had no clue what that was 3 years ago. Like, it's literally when I found you guys, this community, through like Cool Duder and Duran Cinema and Ken and all those guys. Like, I was like, what? Like, I'm looking around like, do I have a boutique label? Like, I probably do, and just don't realize, like, I just bought the movies. I had kind of no concept other than like, honestly, Criterion. That's the only boutique I knew of because the Criterion had laser discs, and I had several of those. So being that they were the OG, that was about all I knew. Otherwise, I just figured it was labels releasing my movies. So it really kicked in once I started to pay attention to this. I'm like, oh, I do have one Arrow there. I've got a Kino there, or, and that's, I don't remember the specific first one because it probably was a Criterion. In fact, I think it was Mad World. That was my first Criterion.
I have that one.
I love that movie.
5 wide. It's a great release. I don't know if you have
that. Yeah, that's the one I have too. Because I think now you don't get that one. Now I think it's just in a plaque.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a
Mhm.
floop, floop, floop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
Very, very cool. Criterion was my first two. I worked at Hollywood Video, and they had a Criterion section there. And I'm like, what the heck
Did
is this?
they?
Yeah. And back when they had like DVDs and Blu-ray was like a few years strong, and they just had a nice set. And I had like a mini film school just renting out as many of those as I could and watching those. But yeah,
Yeah, nice.
just yeah. Social media stuff is where I kind of learned about the Arrow videos and Scream Factories and all that jazz. And yeah, it's been fun to collect for those. But
And how long
you
ago was that for you when you learned about
this
these
I
this
worked at
move?
Hollywood Video in 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. So that's when I found out about Criterion. The rest of the stuff to where
Yeah,
because I
that
just
stuff.
I wanted to collect movies just because, you know. But then I
Yep.
started like going deep into the YouTube rabbit hole. The Instagram is really where I started like going down deep. That was like 2018 is when I really started like finding out
All right.
about okay,
Yeah.
there's other people that like to collect and oh wow, they like to collect a lot of this stuff. I want to collect more of this stuff. And that's just how it goes.
Wasn't it fun that the first time you found that out? I don't even know. Like, I just like you and like all of us, we love movies, and there's just that moment you kind of do this nerdy search, like movie collectors search, and you
Hmm.
go, "Oh my god!" And then
Right.
suddenly there's all this stuff. I'm like, "How long?" I mean, Tony's been at it for 10 years. I'm like, "How long have these people been at it?" And I've just come across this, and
Sure.
that's kind of another fun thing is you just one day you do that search, and then you're in. You know.
Hmm.
Like,
Right.
"Ooh,
And
like
it's been
stuff."
it's been fun to be on TikTok and having a lot of the younger people find out about this as well. Because I found out about it when I was like 20, 25, 26, somewhere around there. We have kids even younger that are starting to collect. Thank God. I don't want
Yeah,
the hobby to
to end
die at
with us.
all. But they do that, and you're like, I didn't know other people collected this. It's just like, yeah, I've had your feeling like 10 years ago, man.
Yep,
Mhm.
nice.
Very, very cool. But what do you think your favorite boutique label is if you had to choose one?
I mean, I really kicked it around. I kinda have 2 faves. I love Kino Lorber and Arrow, who we're gonna talk
Mhm.
about tonight. They
Right.
just kind of like, uh look, I know there's a lot of love for Vinegar Syndrome, so I won't go it's just that's just hot trash for me. I mean, packaging's great. I will
Yeah.
not deny the beauty. I have Roadhouse.
Mhm.
Roadhouse and Married, um, to the Mob with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Mhm.
Those are my 2. 'Cause
Yeah.
those are 2 really good, almost A movies right there.
Mhm.
But the rest, the B horror stuff, I don't really care for. So, but I love that that's what they are. Because for people who love B horror, man, they are your go-to, and they do great packaging and stuff. But for me, I like a little bit more mainstream and vintage movies, and that's kind of Kino's niche. And then Arrow just kind of like they pick some bangers. They're just like they pick the good stuff and they put the boxes out, and so yeah, those 2, I'd say those 2.
Yeah. I knew what Criterion was, but I fell in love with boutique labels because of Scream Factory. I feel like that
Yeah.
love has transferred over to Arrow for the majority of people. Just because Scream Factory just seemed to be doing like 4K upgrades, and every now and again, like a couple times a year, they'll have some really interesting new titles that they're actually putting out. Arrow puts out new titles all the time, and they're
Yeah.
great, and their transfers look phenomenal. I have nothing but good things to say about Arrow.
Yeah, and you got the UK Arrow too. So like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I want, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves over here. Come on."
Hmm. Right.
I didn't get did you get that one from overseas?
No, I did not. I
Yeah,
got I haven't done a lot of overseas stuff. It's nice that you can because it's 4K and it'll play in your player. It's very good
yeah,
for collectors around the globe. It doesn't really matter anymore. You don't need a
right.
region free player. I got the True Romance box set a year before it came out because it came out in the UK. And I love True Romance. So I knew I needed
So
that.
good.
I
Yeah.
wasn't for sure when it was going to come out in the States. So I'm just like, I just need this day one. I'm grabbing it. And it's one of my favorite box sets that I have in the collection for sure.
Do you think they'll do that then with, Robin Hood? If eventually they put out True Romance, do you think Robin Hood's gonna be coming out soon?
Hoping so. I'm hoping that they're just waiting for a rights issue in the states to lapse or something. I'm not quite sure how that stuff works, but
Yeah.
it, every so often it seems like some UK titles will make their way over to the US and vice versa. So yes, I'm very much hoping for. And like the Hellraiser one, like I want that to come to the
Oh,
states.
yeah.
Yes, very badly,
Yeah, that's
very
a good
badly.
one.
Hmm.
That's very cool.
That's what I've heard. Like speaking of FOMO, I did not get that box set, and just seeing everybody like show it up and see what it actually looks like, not in pictures, but an unboxing video of it. just in awe. I'm like, I knew I should have got that sucker.
Yeah, that's the hardest part though, is you've got it. There's got to be that moment where you have to take yourself into a room, have a conversation with yourself. So it's okay. You didn't get that one. Like, it's all right. Like, cause yeah, I mean, I'm like you. If you just start grabbing everything that everyone else got because it looks cool,
Yeah.
and then you're kind of losing out on your individuality about why you passed on it and also why you didn't pass on something. You know, I managed to get the Sleepy Hollow Steelbook, and a lot of people missed that. And that was a complete accident that I got it because some fool put it on the floor a day early and they wouldn't sell it to me. I said, will you hold this till tomorrow? And I said, because I knew it had to be a pre-sale. Like, if I just gave it to them, it was going to somebody. Somebody must have pre-ordered, but if I put my name on it, maybe I could still get it.
Yeah.
And I came back and by cracky the next day, still had my name on it, and I walked out, and that's the last I've ever seen of that Steelbook.
I was lucky enough to get that one as well. It's like an offshoot of a Steelbook. It's called a Fabello, which makes me think that they're going to make more into that line, which I really hope they do. That one is probably, I'm going to make a top 10 Steelbooks of the year video here next week. That one is definitely going to be in the top 10 somewhere. I don't know where it's going to rank just yet, but I was in awe of that release. Everything about it just like screams class act. Like, I want more releases like this because the quality of the sucker is so nice.
Yeah, it is good. Except if you start reading the book too much and you go to close it, it goes like it opens on you because it doesn't have a way to, click shut.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like Disney getting on board with this, with either like putting like a Marvel comic book couple issues in with some of their movies, or like Disney children's books, like Snow White as a book in with a 4K. Like, that is where my brain.
There you go.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow's cool, but let's see where it goes.
Winnie the Pooh, Muppets. You get out of that. You can go as far as. Speaking, the Muppets need more love from Disney. Come on.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Another Muppets lover. I'd love to see it. Well, the Muppets Take Manhattan came out in 4K this year.
I haven't got it yet, but yeah, I want to get it. Yeah, it does.
Yes.
Yeah, I just rewatched. I say a rewatch, but I don't remember watching it. I watched the Muppets Christmas Carol because I just didn't remember seeing it, and it was fantastic. I loved it. I love getting old and forgetting things because then you watch it again, it's like the first time. It was wonderful. It's my favorite Christmas Carol version. It was so funny and so well made. And it's like 89 minutes or something like that. Just clips along. Michael Caine was great.
Yes, he is. He's phenomenal in that. Yeah. I mean, it's always fun watching Muppets just because, like, you get to go back into that time frame and see the celebrities of that time mixing with the timeless element of the Muppets. It's so fun.
Like Mark Hamill, Stallone. Those are all so great vintage shows. Yep. Elton John.
Yeah, I found the Muppets show at Goodwill recently, like seasons 1, 2, and 3 on DVD.
No way.
Not trying to collect a lot of DVDs, but I could not pass those up. I'm like, okay, for $2 a piece, I'm definitely grabbing these.
$2 each?
Yeah.
And were those the face covers? Like the ones with the faces?
Yep.
Dude. Bravo.
I could not resist, Huck. Absolutely not. Let's see. Let's go through some comments really quick. Please stay and play that like button. That'd be great, Caveman. Thank you very much.
Caveman.
What's up? Ready to party? A whole bunch of hellos and whatnots. Got Collector Movie Man in here. 4K Lowdown. Tiana. Mama Blu-ray's in here. Very nice to see.
Yeah. Hey, darling. Nice.
I still need to get Witness. I'm planning to get it on, Diabolic After Christmas.
Nice.
We'll talk a little bit about it. If you can't get it, you can watch it for free on YouTube with ads, just to let you know. I found that out. So nice. I do think this movie will be worth a watch, but we'll talk about the 4K transfer here on the Arrow Video one very, very soon.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. Witness is one of Mom Blu-ray's favorites. That's great.
Nice, Bonnie. We're going to talk all about it.
Right. Okay. So Infinite Character likes to ask a question to every guest, which I always love. The more questions, the better. Let's see here. What's your favorite film, Huck?
It's funny.
Four favorite films. Excuse me.
Oh, well, okay. That's easy. So it's Rocky, Back to the Future, Superman the movie, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. There you go.
Blockbuster guy, huh?
I am. Yeah. I mean, I do love the good vintage stuff, but I mean, that's just how I grew up, and that's how I spent time with my friends, and those spoke to me, and I went multiple viewings with those things. And there's something for me about rewatchability that if something can stay with me for a long time, it's got that, it's like a delicious meal you always go to. It just, you put it in and it feels good. And those movies just, I just love those, as much as I'd love to say 12 Angry Men and something like it. It's like which I love. I just saw those.
Yeah.
I just picked those out of the blue. I didn't really. I just watched those for the first time last month and absolutely love those.
Yes.
So I can't wait to upgrade both of those to 4K. That's how much I love. Like when I finished 12 Angry Men, I could have started it right away again to watch it from a different perspective because I watched the making of stuff. It's the Criterion one, right?
That's the one I have too. Yeah.
So good.
Tim Talks Talkies was on this episode or on a podcast talking about that Criterion release, and it's so good. And it has the old TV version on it too. It's phenomenal. And I've heard that the Kino Lorber 4K has the 90s version as a special feature on there.
Yes.
So yeah, I will definitely get that. For sure.
And he says that's a really good one too. So I want to see that.
Yep, absolutely. Wilkie's in here. Yeah, 1 Minute Critic. Nice to see. What's a movie you can't stand watching?
2001: A Space Odyssey.
What?
Get out of here with that. You just walk out. Take it with you. Put it on your arm. See you later. Yeah, dude, it's just one of those. I've given it a fair shot 3 times, and it's just I get it. I get what everybody says. I'm not. People love it, and I get its appeal. It just doesn't do it for me. Like I keep trying, and it's just like I get what people are seeing in it. I'm just bored. I'm kind of bored. And Kubrick. Sorry to say to any Kubrick lover out there, he is one director who doesn't really resonate deeply with me. Like his filmography, I could probably watch everything once. Like I'd be hard pressed to think one. I just started watching Hitchcock last year for the first time, and I love his stuff. Like I got so obsessed, I've upgraded everything to 4K. I cannot say that about Kubrick. So
I'm that way with Kubrick, but I would say my feelings are your feelings about Kubrick. I feel the same way about with Spielberg. I think.
Really? Get out of here!
Work. Don't get me wrong. He's just made like 65 movies. He's made a lot of movies, and some are absolute classics. Some are absolute garbage. And I don't think like his filmography is all over the place. So half of his stuff could just be wiped from the face of the earth, and I would be okay with it.
Yeah, but that's the thing when you make that many, and Kubrick made what 12? Like it's not a very
9.
big.
Yeah,
yeah, it's not even 10. It's like
and
even Quentin Tarantino's only shooting for 10 before he walks away,
Mm-hmm.
which is, to me, that's a crime. It's like a talent like that. I know that he said that back in the day, but I mean, after he does his 10th movie, if something calls to him, he's not going to make that 11th movie. It's hard to believe a guy like that won't come back, and he's going to.
He was in talks. He was in talks to do a Star Trek movie, and he's been on record saying, "I would have loved to do this, but I don't want this to be my final movie." I'm like, well, then don't.
Then make your 10th and make 11.
Yeah, do this one, then do the Film Critic, and you'll be fine, and everybody will be happy.
Dude, think about how crazy and interesting a Tarantino Star Trek movie would have been. And I heard he loves, I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan, but there's an episode called Piece of the Action. And they go to this planet that adopts mafia mentality because we had left a book behind. And they it's like if you left The Godfather behind, they embrace that culture. And so they go back to the planet, and they have to get the piece of the action is the transaction between the Federation and this planet, right? And so his thing is he was going to go back to that. So he's basically going to do like a Godfather type Star Trek movie. I'm like, oh, that'd have been dope if he'd have gone back to that. Yeah, all in. But
I'm in for anything Tarantino. I'm not the not that I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan. I just haven't watched a lot of it because that franchise is very daunting to step into. There's so much that you would need to like watch, in my opinion. So, but if Tarantino would do a Star Trek film, I would be there night one because he's my favorite working director right now. So when he hangs it up, I'm gonna be so sad.
Yeah, see, and I think that is the difference. Like, while Kubrick doesn't speak to me, everything Quentin's done, even if I just like it, I at least like it quite a bit. There's none of his that I dislike.
Right.
So, yeah.
Absolutely agree.
Hey, Sarah, how are you?
Yeah. Witness was an amazing release. Arrow killed it all year. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. What's up? Let's see here. You had Witness, but gave it to your mom because you're planning to get the 4K. We will. I think the 4K is worth the upgrade on it for sure.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. Sarah's never seen Witness. A lot of Let's see here. Sarah's never seen Witness. A lot of Haze. Let's see here. Huck, what's the best movie purchase you've picked up at the flea market?
Thanks, Dale. At the flea market. Wow. What would be like that's a good question because I'm
That's
trying to think
hard.
of.
I've had a lot
Yeah,
of pickups at the flea market.
yeah. These are like sort of weird ones, but it's just like coming across. And I'll just say these because I was like, oh, moment, right? And it
Mhm.
was Hollow Man.
Hmm.
Like, 'cause I never see that out in the wild, and to get it for like $2 on
Mhm.
Blu-ray made me really excited. And then just recent on the last one I went is Rising Sun with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes.
Oh, sure.
When have
Mhm.
you ever seen Rising Sun at a thrift store or a swap meet? So it's things like that you never see before or since. But a lot of the other stuff is kind of standard.
Mhm.
Because I'm trying to remember if I got any sort of sweet box set. I don't remember anything like that. So I'll
Yeah.
just go with those moments because I was like, oh, cool. So
I've gotten some like horror VHS, which is always fun to see for like a quarter. Like it's the best finding it at the flea markets.
right.
But I think like boutique label wise, I think the only boutique title I found is Death Becomes Her, the Scream Factory edition. And it
Really
was still
nice.
sealed and he was only asking $2. It was
No,
love that
that's
movie.
great.
Love that movie, man.
That's great.
Dell thinks 2001 is boring too. I
Ciao,
enjoy it. I
bro.
enjoy it,
Come
man.
on over. Let's crack a cold one. Let's talk about not that movie.
Sarah grew up with the Muppets. Movie Warehouse wasn't a big fan of Vertigo. I love, Vertigo is great. I enjoy that one quite a bit. I don't know about you.
Well, so here's my wait. Let me make sure I'm thinking of the right one. That's the one with Grace Kelly. Who's the girl in that one?
I believe so. James Stewart, Grace Kelly. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed the movie, but it was really you have to sort of like take a product of its time, obviously. But he was very like manipulative to her.
Mhm.
Like I wasn't. That's the part of the movie I wasn't happy with. It was very uncomfortable the way he was like. Even though you realize give it away, I don't want to give anything away, but
Mhm.
it was a little like, oh, you're kind of a dick, James Stewart. Like, so, and after seeing like just so many killer ones, like I love North by Northwest, Rope, Rear Window. I mean, those
Yep.
are what I consider
Heavy hitters.
perfect
Yeah.
masterpieces.
Yep.
Love
Agreed.
them. And so
Mhm.
that one is kind of under for me. It's not to me a masterpiece, but I'll put it in the good
Sure.
because of that element,
Makes sense. Yeah.
but I
Uh,
like
4K Lowdown does not like Wes Anderson. So there you go.
it. Yeah, I'm similar. I don't have a ton of West that I like.
He just does the same thing every single time, and it's starting to get a little old for me. Asteroid City, I was just like, okay, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Spielberg movies, I think that were mid. War Horse was mid. The Post, Ready Player One. The Shining part was awesome. The rest of that movie was
Oh,
very boring to me.
I loved Ready Player One. See, but
Shining
that's what I
part was
love.
awesome.
Yeah, I just all that stuff. I was like, oh, yeah. I don't know. I loved it.
1941. I'm not a big fan. I could go on for a while, but it's
You know
just
what's funny about 1941? I agree. Like I used to love that. Like that was like a great Spielberg comedy, and then decades went by before I'd see it. I tried watching it again. I'm like,
mhm.
I'm not clicking with this movie anymore. So that's one that kind of fell out of grace for me.
Yeah.
But I remember loving. Now here's one I'm going to challenge you on. You'll either be in my camp or not.
Uh-oh.
And a lot of people don't say, but Always is fantastic. I love Always.
That's one I haven't seen.
Oh no!
Mhm.
Oh dude, I want you to see it. Oh, it's so good. Look, I love it as
geez.
much as Witness. It's so good.
Oh wow. Okay, that's very high praise. So very
I
good.
mean, most people don't. I'll just say that. But there's something. Here's the other thing too. Like you got to take this with a grain of salt. I love Holly Hunter. So
Mhm.
her charm and talent in that is so good. And Dreyfus, the interesting dynamic they have as boyfriend girlfriend. Even she's like, I love how you see me. There's this moment where he buys her this dress, and he's like, "Oh, don't you like the dress?" She's like, "No, it's how you see me." And that you'll see that moment is very interesting. It's like a girl saying, "You just buy her girl stuff because that's what girls like." Because
Hmm.
that's how he sees her, but that's not really the kind of thing, you know what I mean? So it's super good. I like it. It's a love story. It's a love story
Right.
about, fire, fire pilots that drop fire retardant stuff on
I'll have to check that
Right.
one out for sure. Yes. I
Curious.
love watching directors' filmographies. There's so much of Spielberg, and he's very hit or miss
Yeah,
with me. So that's one that's been pushed on the back burner, but it's one that not a lot of people talk about. So I'll definitely have to give it a
true.
shot.
Tim Talks Stock is the only other person that likes that movie with me. We're
Okay.
both like, yeah,
Let's see here. Dell picked up a sealed Blu-ray Steelbook of Airplane for $2. Very, very nice.
that's good.
4K
Wow.
4K lowdown, likes always as well. There you go. Not many people know that movie.
There it is.
Yeah. But okay, let's start talking some more Arrow Video before we go into Witness. I have the
Okay.
Arrow Video, the old school logo. Let's play that before we start talking about them.
Oh,
And I
yeah. Look
say
at that thing.
I say old school logo like that. I love that. Was my favorite boutique label intro card. Like every time that popped on, I'm like, okay, I'm reaching onto my armrest. I'm ready to go. They changed it up with this one, and I couldn't believe it. With Witness,
Yeah, I
that's
love
the
that
first
you're a
new release.
logo nerd.
Yeah,
Like, I
intro
love
cards are
that.
the best, man.
I
They
love
get
that.
me excited. Like I love Scream Factory, but that logo card is boring. It's just like a wolf howling with a gravestone. Just like you could
Yeah,
do so much better. Like that's what
yeah,
gets me excited about physical media. Like, okay, this company released this. They put a lot of time and effort into their title card. I'm ready to go. I appreciate it. The one they have now, I couldn't find a video for it anywhere. I wish I could play it
yeah,
for you, but very middle of the road, just kind of like laser etching the Arrow Video logo. It doesn't hit as hard. It just doesn't.
yeah. Need that old school charm. That was a
Absolutely.
good
Yes.
one. I like that.
Yeah. Well, Arrow Video. You said it was your favorite label going right now. Why is that?
Yeah. I don't like I said, so well, I'll leave this right here. There's something about so I'm just gonna throw out some of the ones that I picked up with box sets like this. You got
Yeah.
RoboCop, Legend,
Hmm.
um, of course, Witness, Waterworld. I was a fan of Waterworld. Most people like dog on that. It's funny because Waterworld's a kind of movie where I think because it costs so much and it didn't make enough money back to make it a hit,
Hmm.
people call it a flop, and so they say it's a bad movie, right? That's what starts going in people's heads and in their
Hmm.
mouths. Whereas sometimes when you see it, I just ran into somebody else who just watched it and went, I kind of like that movie. Why are people trashing that movie? I was like, I don't know. It was a fun movie. And it's hard to make a movie where you got to keep spinning the island so that there's no land in the background. You got to if
Hmm.
you're going to move the camera, you got to rotate the structure so that it's water all the time. But anyway, so I don't know. There's something about that, the packaging and the fact that they give you goodies with it, like that matter.
Hmm.
There's some things that are just bogus, like if you get 2 foil cards or, I don't know, a sticker. I mean, that's just garbage. Like I'm just gonna look at this. Like there's like a book. The booklet's like super thick,
Yeah,
and
we
you get
showed off the Witness one a little bit.
okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. There we go. So this is what we're talking about. There's a Witness there,
Hmm.
and then just like I mean, look how delicious. It's like, I just want to munch it. It's so good. So you got this great thick old book, tons of
Yep.
essays and photos.
New
Yeah,
artwork. I love whoever did this artwork, the alternative artwork, and the one on the booklet. It's phenomenal. The
yeah,
reverse cover sleeve of Witness looks good. I
look
love
at
the way this
that.
looks so much.
Yeah,
That's one thing I love about Arrow Video. I mean, a lot of boutique labels do this, but for it to have like reversible cover art, that's always my favorite thing. Like either have the old school poster or the new school artwork that they newly commissioned. It's
yeah, look at that. That's so cool. Yeah.
I love having the choice at the very least,
Oh yeah, and sometimes I will flip it to the other one. Like oh, that is a nice one.
That's like one of the first things I do. I unwrap it, I look at both sides and see what side I like the best. That's just part of the process with boutique labels for me.
Right. And this is usually like when you get these, they're in that it's under $30 price point, around
Yeah.
$35, right? When you get something like this. And
Yeah.
if you're lucky enough to go to Barnes and Noble during the sale, you get 50% off of that. So that's a win. This one, I just couldn't wait though. I like to wait for a bargain, but not when it came to this movie. There's a FOMO I did not want to kick in like, oh, it's sold out.
Right.
Like I wasn't gonna, there it is. Look at that poster, man.
On this one looks great. Yeah, I know that Criterion, like retail wise,
Smells good.
last year the smell to these are great too.
Right?
I
The
want
feel.
Arrow Video. The J card. What do you do with these? Do you take it off? It looks like you take yours off, right?
I did, because otherwise it just kind of flops. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like, if you fold them just right, they'll fit inside, but then some don't.
Right.
They need to make it just short enough so when you fold the bottom, it just goes in.
I'm keeping the J card on this one just because there's nothing on the back side here, which is a little unfortunate. I wish they'd just put something.
Yeah, maybe I pulled it off the shelf without it. Yeah, I don't know what I did with the J card, but yeah. Sometimes I'll just try to flop it back in there. But look, here you go. So here is some of the other goodies we were talking about. So you get these fantastic cards, and they're good. And by the way, it's the poster on the other side, right, of each one of them. So I don't have to show it to you. Whoop, there you go, with a Samuel Lapp there. Great. I mean, just like key scenes in here. There's right after the barn raising, with the lemonade. The scene at the end. We will talk about that. That's just a great shot of Harrison, and sadly, this is his only Oscar nomination, and but well deserved. So
very well deserved. It's crazy he doesn't have another one, but I'm glad he at least has one.
And I know we'll get to it, but did you watch the bonus features where he talked about really fighting for this film and wanting to do this film? And he got a copy of the script when he was doing Temple of Doom with Peter Weir. And Peter Weir was supposed to make Mosquito Coast before this, wasn't even with Harrison. And then all that fell through. And then they were back on, hey, I need something to do. How about Witness? And then it's like, let's go.
Before they started, Weir and Ford got together, and they got together so well. They enjoyed their company so much that he had a big process in like the backstage stuff, the production stuff of Witness. He really got into it, got into the character a lot. That documentary on here, by the way, it's like a 5-part doc. It's not exclusive to Arrow Video. It was on a previous release, but it's like an hour and a half. It's amazing.
So this was stripped with absolutely nothing on it. However, if you do like I do, the DVD was not. So I combined them in here, and then of course I kept the thing. And then there's what was on the DVD, and it is that 5-part documentary. And I'm like, how is this documentary not on the Blu-ray? That is an absolute crime. So there's no way I was getting rid of this DVD. So when I saw that all this was ported over and then some, I was like, thank you for doing that. And the upscale on it looks good. I was worried it was probably some 480 horrible looking. It's going to be a terrible looking upgrade, but it was very watchable. So if you have the old DVD and all this stuff, it's all in here now. So it's so good.
I will say the 4K is a little bit grainier than I thought it would be, but I think it's just kind of like how the movie was filmed, and it being like in the Amish, it kind of looks like it's still kind of in olden times. I like the way that goes, and I have that on the background right now. Whenever I'm talking about a movie on the podcast, I just have it on, and looking at the picture now, like the black levels are phenomenal and stuff, and there's not a lot to complain about this movie for sure. The way that it looks, the transfer that it had.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought it looked fantastic. Best I'd seen it look.
Okay. I want to talk more about Arrow Video, but I think I want to talk more about Witness a little bit more. So if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go, man.
Let's go. Like Arrow,
love a trailer to play first, just to get us in the mood for Witness. It's a two-parter, so let's start this.
Oh.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Harrison Ford is John Book, a big city cop.
I'm a police officer, ma'am. I have to talk to the boy.
A small country boy. They have nothing in common.
We have nothing to do with your laws.
But a murder.
Your son's a material witness to a homicide.
Now you have a witness.
Yeah, now I got a witness.
If they find me, they find the boy.
Harrison Ford. Witness. Rated R. Starts Friday, February 8th at a theater near you. Check local newspapers.
I love getting the TV spots, Huck, because it has just like that random. Okay, check your local listings for when this plays.
And I love that the VHS Paramount presents. It's like, I'm like you, man. I love those feels that came on those VHS promos.
I have a bunch of those clips just logged in here for whenever I'm like, okay, we're talking about a Paramount movie, so I want to have like the showing of when it was like kind of released on its first home media release. Gives me the feels.
Nice.
Witness. Yeah. Why did you want to watch this movie? Why was this your choice?
It's funny. So when I gave you a list, it's sort of like we're trying to find things that you and I can talk about, and I haven't seen this in like decades. Even though I had the Blu-ray, I think I saw it on the DVD. I don't think I ever watched it. I watched some of it on the Blu-ray, but I was like so angry there was no bonus features. I don't know if I got through it, but when this came out, I was super excited because it is my favorite dramatic performance from Harrison. I think hands down, like. And he was up against Kiss of the Spider Woman with William Hurt. That's who he lost to. I was like, that was a good performance, but nobody talks about that anymore. Everyone's still
I've never heard of
talking
that
about
movie, Huck. No.
And I saw it, like that's when I was like, even in the 80s, I was trying to watch everything before the Oscars and all that. And it was a good performance, but absolutely was I rooting for Harrison. And so I don't know, I just got it. And like you, I have it. It's still wrapped. I'm like, no, I want to open this and I want to watch it. So as soon as I knew you hadn't seen it, that's all I needed. That was like everything else on the list was off the list. Like it's this movie because I wanted to relive it and rewatch it and feel it again. I wanted you to experience it for the first time and then see what you felt. So that's why I picked it, man.
There are only two elements I knew about this movie before I watched it. Number one, it's Harrison Ford, and number two, it's Amish. Those are the only two things I knew about the movie, knew nothing else. This movie took me for a ride. The way that it was directed, like it's very subtle with its actions and its camera techniques and its slow pans.
Oh,
but then when the action starts, it just pounds you in the face. It's amazing.
Though that and it was nominated for cinematography. That just the wheat fields and the way he shot stuff. Dean, was it Cundy? Wait, who was the DP on that? Was that Dean?
I'm not sure.
Or John Seal. John Seals.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Yep. So I mean, just that the vistas is so good. And there's a shot in particular that is just so inspiring. It's when the bad guys come at the end and they park at the top of the hill and the camera's at the bottom of the car. Oh my God, dude. I get chills thinking about it. And it just goes up and the three of them walking down. Yeah. Man, I literally get chills.
Even before the iconic shot of like, I think it's iconic now of them walking down the hill. You get a shot from the bottom of the hill up, and it's the car it's up the hill just for 10, 15 seconds. Then the car peeks in for like 5, backs up out of frame, like it's stalking its prey almost. So good. And then the last third, the last action set piece in this sucker just hits, man. You are on the edge of your seat that entire time.
Oh, and it's so nice because it really is a drama, and that action set piece, it's like a real action set piece. Like it's not like a Die Hard type set piece. It's you need to run for your life action set piece.
This could happen. This could actually happen.
And because of how Weir built that tension up to that point, man, you were just like, oh my God, Samuel left, run, Samuel, run. And he's like, go. And you're like, yeah, run. Like, you're just like, go. Right. And he stops. You're like, oh my God, don't stop. But the kid knew, if I go back and I pull that bell, everybody's going to come running. And I was like, oh yeah. And it just, man.
Because you've seen what these guys are capable of, and they show you that beforehand. Like the very first scene in the bathroom, oh my God. Like I was not prepared for that at all. Number one, like the kid was going to the bathroom, like dude was washing his hands. And then Danny Glover comes walking.
Danny Glover.
Yeah, Danny Glover.
That murder.
He's like, oh, Danny Glover's in this movie. Awesome. I had no idea. He's just taking a piss. And then out of nowhere, it just has another guy shivving him. It's just like, oh my God, what is even going on? And then Danny Glover is part of it. And
he just cuts his neck.
Brutal.
Like very graphic.
Brutal.
Yeah. And the kid sees it all.
Yeah.
And dude, the moment, I love talking about this. Okay. So the moment when he's in the cop station and he's looking at all the lineup of people, and there's even people that look similar to Danny Glover. And he's like, no, and to the kid's credit, he doesn't just pick anyone. He's like, no, and he just shakes his head. That's not him. And then that one moment he's looking at the trophy case and he looks past the trophy and the camera rack focuses and even like for you, like you're looking at sort of Samuel's POV and then it rack focuses to him on the back and he just, and the silence, oh my God. And then he looks over at Harrison and he's not looking at him at first. And then he looks back and he's just got that dead look like this is the guy. And then he looks back at Harrison and Harrison's like he knows who's in that cabinet. Oh man, that is the best moment of reality. And then for the kid to start picking his finger up and pointing, and he just puts his hand. Oh
It's so good. It's
God,
so
it's
good.
so good.
Like, this movie is full of just little instances like that that make it hit so hard. Just little things that a lot of movies don't even think about doing. Like the little touches, like the hand
Yep.
going
Yep.
down, the whole like subtle will they, won't they between the two. Kelly McGinnis and
Rachel.
Harrison Ford, that's her name.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, Rachel.
Yeah, that goes on for a very long time. That goes on for what, like an hour and a half of this movie's runtime, an hour at the very least. I was captivated every single time it happened. And I'm not a big
Right.
like romantic guy, but that had me like, okay, I want to see where this goes. Because there were numerous times where things could have happened and something else happens. Like they're dancing with music in the
Right.
car.
Oh, the dance
Something could have
was
happened.
so
They didn't.
sweet.
It's very, very, very good.
And like
This
just
movie's
that,
awesome. This movie's awesome. Huh?
yeah, I know, dude. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
To speak on that
Mhm.
dance, that's the one too. Peter asked Harrison, "What song do you want?" Harrison picked, "Don't Know Much Biology." Like he chose
Mhm.
that song, and it works so nicely in that moment. And there's even that moment where he looks at her, and then he pushes her back out. And he keeps dancing, like
They
you
look
can
at each
see
other for
what-
like 10 seconds. Like it gets almost
right,
awkward. Like, okay, are you gonna do
yeah,
something? And then they
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Mhm.
But that's the thing. It's a big fish out of water movie, right? He's in in fact, it's sort of like a double-sided fish out of water. Their fish out of water when he sees the death and at the
Mhm.
station, and then when he goes there. So it's just so well done,
Yeah, it's a culture shock both ways. It's done
Right.
very, very well.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this movie to be a thriller, and like I would say half of it is a thriller. When Harrison Ford is
Yeah.
like in the Amish
Yeah.
community, it turns into a totally different movie, which I
100%.
absolutely love. And
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's why the
Same.
thriller elements work so well here, is because they're sprinkled in. You never know when they're gonna show up, but when they do, I think that's why they hit as hard as they do. Because the majority of this movie is just Harrison Ford learning about this community, wanting to get back and knowing that he can't, because if he does, he'll get killed, and slowly
Ugh.
just embracing what this community has done, standing up for them by kind of punching the guy, and that's what gets
Oh.
him caught at the end of the day. It's just there's so many little dominoes that fall perfectly in this.
That scene was so good, and if, like I said, I know we'll get into bonus features, but
Mhm.
that scene, he's like, I'm not going to punch him. Like he was kind of against the punch. And he's like, no, you need to punch him. This
Yeah.
is like there's something that happens to someone he knows. We'll put it that way. And it's his reaction to learning what happened he's done. He's like,
Mhm.
the rage is right there. He wants retribution. And so for that dude to be a turd, that's it. It's like, you're the guy I'm going to take all this out on.
Right.
And of course, when he watched, he's like, that was such a good scene. Why was I thinking, don't do that? And that moment, it's not just someone punching somebody. There's so much behind why that happened. And he's like, no, Book, it's not our way. And it's my way.
my
I was
way.
like, oh my God, here it comes. Yeah.
But man, if he would have just kept his composure a little bit, he could have stayed there for a while, or at least like not had them ambush him at the Amish community. So like I get it's him kind of standing up for it, but if he would have just stayed in the Amish ways, he would have never got caught, and he could have kind of had the upper advantage on them. So
but he never could have stayed in that state because of what he learned about his friend.
yeah, he was going to leave the next day. Yeah.
That's why he went off on the guy. Like if it was just the guy being taunted, I think he would have said, Book, just relax.
Right.
It's just ice cream on his face. But because of what happened to Book's friend,
Right.
that's like, it doesn't matter. You can I get it. It's not your way, but I need to take some steam off. And that's the guy that's going to.
I can't name a lot of movie scenes that involve people talking to each other on telephones that are as tense as this conversation was. Amazing. Like you can see Harrison Ford getting so angry, and the lieutenant on the other end, you can see him kind of fearing like, oh, what have I done? He's going to come and kill everything I have. I need to find out where this man is.
Look, to that point, can I tell you, like in that scene, so he's talking on the phone, he's enraged, and he slams it down. And can I tell you, for what feels like 15 seconds on the back of Harrison Ford's head while he processes what it never moves. It's just until Harrison Ford is ready to turn around and he gives that look right past the camera. That look mwah, chef's kiss, man. That was so good. But it waited until
Mhm.
it's almost like you could feel the actor just putting it all together so that when he turned around, it was all in his face. And it didn't matter. Like, I just kept leaning in, like, when's he going to turn around? It didn't
Mhm.
matter. Like, the longer, the better. And man, that look it said volumes.
Back in the day,
There's a lot of silence in this film that
yes.
just speak
Mhm.
volumes that you don't get, and probably unless it's something like A Quiet Place, which is so well crafted as something about silence. There's this movie, and it does it impeccable for that.
I mean, not only is there silence, but like there's musical scores that kind of
Yeah,
just envelop the entire scene. The main one that I'm thinking of is when they're actually building that barn.
the
That's
barn.
amazing. That's just like
Yeah,
that's a nice character piece, a nice community building piece. They talk about it off and on, like, oh, if you're still here, you might as well help with this.
yeah,
Help us build this barn. And the fact that they in real life built this barn in a day
yep,
is
yep.
absolutely fascinating. And it brings Harrison Ford's like old ways of carpentry that he did before he was an actor back into the forefront. You can just
Yeah.
tell that like they were having a good time with this. It honestly looks like they were building something here because they were.
They were, yeah. Well, and you heard the the line that it might have been Mikhail Baryshnikov that asked him. He's like,
Mhm.
so you, or it might have been the older Amish guy. He's like, you know something about carpentry? He goes, a little.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, of course you do, Harrison. You're a former carpenter.
Just
So
all of them climbing up on that barn and like
yeah,
sharing glasses of lemonade because they don't have enough to hand around because there's so many people there.
yeah,
It just
yeah, yeah.
it's so fun to watch. And one of the background characters being like a young Viggo Mortensen. This was his first
Right,
movie. I did,
right.
yeah, that blew me away.
And I didn't remember. That's why I loved seeing it again, Jake. Is that I didn't realize when the barn scene comes. Like,
Mm,
I'm like, where does that fall in this movie? And it really is kind of the final piece
yeah.
before the end. It
Mhm.
just builds to that, and it's this great community piece. And after that, we're bringing you the last act. It's
Right.
like, oh, nice. It's so well timed.
And when
Where
we're talking about it, like building a barn, that sounds like the most boring thing ever.
boy,
But
it
in
does.
this movie, it's extravagant and
Yeah,
just something out of a fantasy movie almost. It's like
it
you're
really
in
is.
Middle
Yeah.
Earth or something, the way they're building this thing. It's very, very, I don't know, it's majestic. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, you guys have to see this scene. I know it sounds like, "Oh, building a barn," yeah, but no, it is
Right.
amazing.
Like I'd never thought, like when I saw that the two things I knew about this, like one of them was an Amish community, and I never thought I would enjoy that setting, but I was thoroughly engrossed with everything that was happening in here. Like there's even little like fun character beats, like the main dad that they're living with wakes Harrison Ford up very early in the
Yeah,
morning, just kind of
yeah,
shakes him and be like, "It's 4:30, time for milking," and then just
time for
starts doing
milking.
that. And
Yeah,
yeah, Harrison Ford's like, these aren't the nipples I'm used to touching, like that type of thing.
yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
just
Oh, no, no, he
good
says,
little
"What's the
character
matter?
beats
You've
here.
never had one that big in your hand?" He goes, "Not that
Right.
big."
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I
Yeah,
could talk
that's the other
forever
thing
about
I
this.
wanted to say, is the humor in this movie
Hmm.
is absolutely fantastic. You wouldn't think, "Oh, there's any comedy," but it has just the right moments of comedy throughout the entire film that I completely forgot existed in this film.
Hmm.
Like moments like that,
Yeah.
like stuff with, Samuel and stuff. It's just so tightly written, the script. I think it was up for like so many things, like
Hmm.
the score and the screenplay and the directing and the acting. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
was
Peter
really
Weir for
amazed.
you. Yeah, Peter Weir is so good at like making atmospheric projects. I've only seen a few of his movies. Physical media wise, in 2023, he had a hell of a year. I have
Yeah.
a couple. I have a few movies. He had Witness from Arrow Video. He had a 4K of The Truman Show, which I absolutely love.
That's right.
These are two movies that I haven't seen, and now because I've seen Truman Show, I've seen Witness, and I've seen Dead Poet Society. I think those are the only three movies I've seen of his. Absolutely love all three of those.
Yep.
Two more that I
Yep.
have from Second Sight. We have Picnic at Hanging Rock, which I've never heard of, but it's a Peter Weir
Me
movie,
neither.
so I am all in. And then this one came out from Umbrella Entertainment, The Last Wave, and this movie sounds absolutely nuts. I want to say this is his first feature film.
Look at that box. So chunky.
Umbrella's amazing. I love Umbrella
Yeah.
Entertainment. I could talk your ear off about Umbrella, but I love Arrow too. Like I would say, beat for beat, they have the best two box sets being made right now, physical media wise.
That
But
looks
I
great.
want to watch more Weir. Like I didn't really know a lot about the guy. the movies that I did watch, I'm like, oh, I didn't know who directed Truman Show. And then I started looking it up. I'm like, wow, every single movie that I've seen of his is phenomenal. And now I want to finish his filmography for sure.
Have you seen Mosquito Coast?
No, I haven't.
Okay. See, that is one, again, because I love Harrison and Peter together. I remember really liking it. Is not like this. It is very like even more dramatic and Harrison doing something that none of his fans want him to do. Because at least this was he was still a cop. So it's still kind of in that Harrison Ford wheelhouse that everybody loves. But he really went out on a limb to play Allie, the character in Mosquito Coast. And that thing's still only on DVD. Like there's no Blu-ray of that at all. And I just keep thinking, well, all these 4Ks you just held up of him, come on. Like I don't want to put that movie back in again ever until it comes out on a better format. Because that old DVD, it's like, nah, but.
And that's kind of like the gift and the curse for collecting physical media in a way. Like I have so many movies on DVD that I'm like, I don't want to watch it on 720p format. I'll wait till it gets out on 4K and then I'll have a reason to watch it, even though I have it and I should watch it, you know?
Right. I'm in the mood for it.
Correct. Correct. Well, gosh, the action scenes in here. I think the one that we haven't talked about was the shootout. And I think that's one that gets overlooked a lot here. It's so well done, man. Just Harrison Ford, Danny Glover in a parking lot. It's great. It's so freaking tense. Yeah. And speaking of humor, in a shootout, the lady was nervous that like they were using her car. The lady coming out of the elevator. Just good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, get back to the elevator. And she's like, no. Yeah, like exactly. It's the most tense thing. And you crack a smile right in the middle of it. And that's also when you realize something happened.
Right. Well, there's one more thing that I need to talk about this movie because the action's great and the atmosphere is great. But the eye fucking Huck in this movie is next level. Oh my God. They are just looking each other up and down. Kelly McGinnis, Harrison Ford. Like a lot of it is silent, but there is so much being said with their eyeballs and the way that they're just gazing into each other. It's insane. I've never seen
their eyes had more sex than anybody.
They don't do anything in this movie. Like there's a scene where Kelly McGillis is topless, but nothing happens. And it's just like, there's so many thoughts running through their head and they don't say a word. And you can tell everything that's going through their brain by just like them looking at each other.
Exactly. That's the scene. It's like, and you know, when you get to the end, there's no words. He walks up to her, they look at each other. And you know, again, if you've seen the bonus features, the studio's like, okay, we needed them to talk a lot. They got to tell what they're feeling and this. And he goes, look, Peter, the director, he goes, look, if I've done my job, they don't have to say a word. If I haven't done my job, then this movie doesn't work.
Correct.
Like literally the movie doesn't work. And he's absolutely right. At the end, they can't, well, yeah, I'll just say, you know, at the end, it ends the way it ends because that's the way it has to end. Oh, and let's go on a little limb here and talk about little Lucas Haas and how amazing this child actor is.
Yes.
He is phenomenal. This kid is, well, he's got to be 10 or less. And he is just so present in every frame. He's fantastic.
Child actors can be so wrong in so many different circumstances. And Lucas Haas, I always believed him in every scene he was in. He was great. I have nothing bad to say about his acting in this movie.
There wasn't a moment where I was pulled out. Like you can make or break a movie on a bad child's performance.
Just when he goes to the train station and he sees a water fountain for the first time and he's so mesmerized by it. It's so good. I was nervous that he was going to get abducted because he just kept on like going by himself looking at everything and the mom was just sitting back. Times have changed. In 1985, that was more okay, I guess, than it is now.
Yeah, well, of course it was. Yeah, there's the men's room. I'll be right here in the chair. And and like you said, that scene in the men's room, the whole killing scene with him. Oh my God, his face, the reaction. You know, and even like that reaction, the one that they got. You know, again, I'll get to the because we're trying to like excite you people in the bonus features too. In that scene, he just wasn't getting it. He wasn't selling the death. He wasn't bringing it home. And, you know, Peter went to the parents and says, look, I have to really talk to your child. So I just want you to know. And he pulls Lucas and he goes, Lucas, you're bringing this film down. Oh my God. And Lucas says it too. He goes, he told me I'm ruining this film. And he goes, "You've got to get there." And then they tried to figure out a way, and because they didn't reenact the murder, like he does not watch the murder.
Right. And that's why he couldn't get the acting right.
Because he doesn't want the child to experience, even if it's fake, that kind of trauma. But he had to find something, right? And whatever that moment was where he finally nails it, the camera goes out of focus when they're pushing in on his face. And then when it was all over, the DP is like, "All right, well, we got to do it again." He goes, "Absolutely not. That's the take I'm using, even though it's out of focus." Because Peter goes for performance over perfection. And that's the perfect moment to display that mentality. Is he goes into Lucas because that moment's there, and he's like, "That's the one I'm using."
I want to say in the special features, Lucas Haas said that Peter Weir told him to think about the most traumatizing experience of his life and kind of yelled at him in like a very imposing voice just to kind of like get something out of him. And
shocking.
It worked. Yeah, because that is great. And there's a little like, it's so tense when Danny Glover is kicking open the doors and trying to find, because he hears a noise. He thinks somebody is there. So kicking open the stalls, try to find him. And then there's like an Indiana Jones reference where he's grabbing his hat while he's going, while he's kicking the door. It's just, this movie's good. And I feel like not enough people talk about it. And that's why I'm so happy Arrow Video put it out in 4K. Just kind of bring it back into the pop culture atmosphere again,
Right. Well, because for me, when you get something like this, and look, I know Barbarella is out. It's a very B movie. Like, I know people are excited for it, but look, come on. It's not a great film.
Right.
It's a nicely presented film, and that's cool, but it's not Witness. Like, when these two were announced, I'm like, look, if I got money for one movie, it's Witness. If Barbarella is like 50% off sale for Arrow, I'll probably grab it because the box looks nice.
I was very excited to watch or to buy the Psycho set because that's a franchise that I need in my collection. Witness was one that I was on the fence about, but I've heard so many good things that I'm like, let's put it in the collection. And now I finally pulled it out, was able to watch it, and I'm so happy it's in the collection. It's not one I will ever get rid of anytime soon, or ever. I won't get rid of it ever.
Nice. I'm so excited to hear that. Yay. That's great.
Well, yeah, I know I usually talk about bonus features at the end. We've done a good job touching upon like what was in the documentary and stuff. I think there's only one new special feature in here. There's new audio commentaries, but I think there was a new interview, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's an interview. It's funny. I had my cheat sheet, but I left it because we're so flowing.
Correct.
I think it was the DP. I think it was the interview with him.
Oh, and there was a video essay on here. Yeah. I watched the video essay. That was very well done.
And that was fantastic. Yeah. So he just talked about, and that's when they were talking about all those vistas and, going there and looking around. That's another thing too. When you go to Location Scout, a movie like that, wow. I mean, so good. Like whatever, all those places they found, it's just every single shot in that film is just awesome.
It feels real. So like it does not feel like a movie. And that's the best compliment I can give it, is that it has you on the edge of your seat. Everybody does not feel like a character. They feel like honest to God people. And that whenever you can get performances out like that, it's rare, and you just kind of have to embrace them because it doesn't happen that often. And I love it when it does.
Yeah. And then a lot of the Amish people ran up to them after they built the barn and they go, "Who gets the barn?" they're all like wanting to know who gets the barn when you're done. Because that's not something they tore back down. They legit built the barn, and they left it there. So somebody got it.
You live in California, right, Huck?
Correct. Yeah.
I live in Iowa, and it is a thing. Like there's scenes in this movie. I'm like, this has happened to me where I'm driving and there are Amish buggies on the road.
No
and
way.
You cannot go around them. Yes. They're only on the road for like a mile or so, but when they're there, you are just stuck because you can't pass them unless there's very limited windows to where you can pass them. But yeah, it's just
like it's a rule that you can't pass them, or the road is so short that there's no room to pass them.
It's a 2-lane road, so you don't get a lot of opportunities to pass them, and they're going so slow because it's a horse-drawn carriage,
right?
Where you're going 5 miles an hour, and there's just not. If the line gets big enough, you're just stuck there for a while.
Oh, especially if you're in the back. Yeah. Well, but like that scene, like the 18-wheeler is behind the buggy.
Yeah.
It's like the diametrically opposed things.
And it's very funny when I go to a gas station in the middle of nowhere and there's just a horse-drawn carriage parked out there, and it's just everyday stuff for me. I didn't know if you knew that was something that actually happens still nowadays or not, so I thought I'd bring that up.
No, I love that. No, see, and yeah, of course the communities are still around, so
right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just and
I
I
the Amish helped my dad build a garage, like a workshop, and they
yeah.
put it up in like 3 days. It was, and the thing is huge, so they do a very good job. That yeah, their craftsmanship is pristine, man.
Oh, that's dope, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that we've been sort of weaving our
Hmm.
discussion and bringing the sort of bonus feature into because it just sort of organically works into talking about certain
Correct.
scenes.
It does. Hmm.
Um, but absolutely worth every little bit, you know. Ah,
Right. Well, let's see here. I think we have a couple more comments here. Unless, do you have anything else to say about Witness before we're done talking about Witness? I think we did a good job covering over the heavy hitting parts.
well, and I don't think we singled her out, but I would also like to say Kelly McGillis, how wonderful she put herself into that role, spending time with an actual Amish single mother and
Hmm.
her family, and really like sort of
Right.
organically getting that dialect down.
Very
She,
soft spoken, for sure. Hmm.
yeah, because there's a little something there. You don't know quite what it is because I don't know that dialect,
Yeah.
but she holds it the whole time, and
Yep.
her persona, and she doesn't cross the line. And there's the dad is so good to her. He's
Hmm.
saying how she's, what did he say? Like you've dishonored yourself or something. She's no, you've dishonored me or something like that. It's like there's a moment where they both believe what they're saying is true. I mean, it's
Correct.
just so good.
It's very, and this was her first movie. Like before this, she was still a waitress. This is a year
Yeah,
before Top Gun came out too. It's just, yeah,
yeah.
the fact that this was her first performance is phenomenal because a lot of it took Peter Weir a lot of different the interview process, trying to work out a lot of actresses because a lot of them would still like feel
Be
like
too
they
Hollywood.
weren't from that community. But Kelly
Yeah.
McGinnis did a very subtle performance that really worked for him, and I think it works on screen too.
Yeah, fantastic. I just want to point her out too that, cast is phenomenal all the way around. But yeah, I mean, she is the co-lead, and the chemistry with Harrison was integral to this film being uh, very connective, and they were. So love it.
Right. We have a question about Witness. Where would you put it
All
in
right.
Harrison Ford's filmography? The very top or upper middle?
Oh, top 5 for
Yeah,
me.
I would think top 3 off the top of my head. Like honestly,
Yeah.
I would put just characters that he's played. I would honestly put Han Solo, Indiana Jones,
And
Witness.
this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
can't think of
think
anything better that hasn't been a franchise piece for him.
yeah, that's where I put it too. Mhm.
It's very, very strong. And
Yeah, it's
Dell,
my third favorite performance.
yeah, Dell still hasn't
Well,
seen
get it,
Witness.
Dale.
Do it, yeah. If we haven't persuaded you to pick up the Arrow Video box set, I don't know
We
what
haven't
will.
done our job.
I don't know what will, man. Yeah. Well, normally I usually have like a title card set up for my next guest that's going to be on the episode. I didn't have time to build that today, but I'm very excited. The next episode, I'm going to have Alex Thomas on, and
Right on.
we're talking about steelbook sets. Like he came to me and he's like, I love steelbook sets. Nobody talks about the Harry Potter steelbook set. It's like an 8-film one, looks phenomenal. And I just kind of said, hey, if we're talking about that one, let's talk about as many of them as we can. But yeah, steelbook sets are great. If you don't know what that is, before we go, I have one right here of Superman. Speaking of like releases that came out this year.
Yep. Look, as
They're-
a Superman fan, that's the one steelbook set. That's the only steelbook set I have, but I had to have that. I do wish though that 5th one wasn't just filled with swag. I wish it had a really loaded bonus disc of content, which it doesn't.
I'm a big fan of like getting physical goodies in my physical media. Yes, it would be nice to have like more bonus features and stuff, like new ones for that set. But to have like, I've never seen a steelbook made to house goodies before.
Just goodies.
So
Yeah,
I thought that was a very cool idea. It would have been nice to have a disc in there. But I do like the goodies that were mixed in there too.
Yeah, and I love that they chose the original comic book cover as the art for that. That I love that. That's really what swayed me. I'm like, oh, I gotta have that. Yeah,
it looks great. I have a lot of my sets up here. You can't see them, but I think I have about like 10 or 12 that I'm going to show off next week, and I can't wait to because that's one of the reasons why I love collecting steelbooks, is because they have like very cool, distinct sets like they do. So
Oh yeah,
that should be a very fun discussion next week.
and I will say just real quick too, then, since we are talking about Arrow, look, this is something that
Yes.
they released this year. I'm sure you have this too, right?
I
The video
have the
store.
smaller redone version, and I'm so mad at myself.
I mean, look, this is one, and you know the
Yeah.
movies in it are all super B movies, right? They're not A plus, but there was just, I kept seeing this pop up, and there was just kind of something about it, like I really wanted it, and I don't really get that very often, honestly, when I see people with stuff. But
I
this is one
waited
of
too
the
long, and I was so mad because
giant thing here.
that box set is gorgeous, and
It's so good. The box
they
is
are
super good.
they are B movies, but I watched Reanimator for the first time this year, fell in
Yeah.
love with Stuart Gordon, and like 3 of his movies are in that set. So I have
Yeah,
the
but look at
little
this
one, but the amount of love and care that they put into that box set is amazing.
And I will say too, like Dolls is awesome. Dolls ended up being my favorite because I love sort of that stop motion stuff, and it felt very like a throwback to those kind of like animated doll type movies. And and the thing I had to go through to get this, so knowing that it was disappearing quickly, it was during a 50% off sale. By the way, I only got this for $50. Is I looked around town, and there was only 3 Barnes and Nobles like in the 100-mile radius. And so I called and I looked, and it said 1 left out of all the stores. So I called that store and I talked, and you know me, you got to be super charming, man. If you want what you want, be nice. Like Dalton tells you in Roadhouse, be nice. And I live by the Dalton Creed, baby. So I was very nice. And they said they would send it to the store near me.
That's
so
awesome.
waited a few days, and they didn't call me. And so I was just like I just went there on a Friday for some reason, because the Thursday night before they said something like, well, you didn't come, so we're going to release the thing. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you didn't tell me. So I ran there, like I drove there, and the guy, John, I still remember his name. John is the guy who I asked about it originally, and I said, it's coming. And I went there and I said, John, and this was our conversation. I know you're going to hand me some bad news today, because I know this thing is hot, but is there a chance that Arrow video store is still available? I get it. You put it right back on because the lady even said, I put it back out on the floor. And he goes, are you kidding me? I remembered you. And he turns around, and there it was on his card, because he remembered me, and he knew all the stuff I had gone through to get it there. And I was like, God bless you, John. So, it's just one of those, it was kind of an adventure acquiring this thing. And as cheesy as they are, it's just kind of one of my favorite releases of the year.
Yes, and great story. Whenever I go retail and I go to a lot of different stores often, that's just something I like to do too. You get a rapport with the people. That's something that I think is gonna slowly go away from the retail space. Like it already is. Like speaking of Barnes and Noble, like their physical media space, I went there in November to hit up the Criterion 50% off sale. A fraction of what it used to be, like a fifth of what it used to be. Yeah, it's sad to see, because sure, we can get these movies online, but we're not going to have that type of connection for too much longer. So you just have to kind of like cherish it while it's still here.
The thrill of the hunt, man. Enjoy it while you got it.
That's why I love going to thrift stores, Goodwills, all that stuff, because you never know what you're going to find. And it's always fun going to like Barnes and Noble or like my secondhand hobby store that has all those movies, just because you never know what stock they're going to have. It's the best.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, Basement Blues. Yes, they have cut way back, and it makes me very, very sad, because they used to have hundreds of movies, and if they had 100 Criterion this time, I would be surprised, because I looked through it in like 10 minutes, and normally I would take an hour. Sad.
Yep.
Well, we're ending on a bummer now, Huck. Sorry about that. It's Christmas time.
No, we were ending on a high.
Yes, no, that is the highest of highs. Absolutely.
I found it. It's a high where,
I got the reduced. I got the reduced version, and I didn't think it said that, because it was when Arrow Video had their own 50% off sale. I must not have read the fine print well enough.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have the movies, but I wish I had that box set, because it is a work of art. That thing looks amazing.
It's okay. You got other good stuff, but there you go. But this was a lot of fun, man. Thank you for talking about Witness. This was a good time. Very
absolutely,
excited.
Huck. Do you have anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No, not really. I just finished. We did a collectors club talking about Christmas shows. If you want to go back, that was on my channel. Check it out. Every Tuesday morning, I do a morning show. Wake everybody up before you get out and do your Blu-ray Tuesdays. So if you're around on Tuesday mornings, that's a thing. Other than that, just keep your eyes open. Anything other than those, I just drop when I shoot them. So, thank you.
Yeah, very good. I have Huck's YouTube link in the description, so make sure if you're not subscribed to him, go and do that. He has a great page. Like I said in the intro, love your trivia nights. I was lucky enough to be on one and had an absolute blast doing it. So, yeah, I like what you're doing over there, Huck.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
And thanks again for coming on. This has been episode 13 of Boutique Talk.
Anytime.
Until next time, I'll see you.
See you later.